An armored vehicle launched bridge, AVLB, is a combat support vehicle, sometimes regarded as a subtype of military engineering vehicle, designed to assist militaries in rapidly deploying tanks and other armored fighting vehicles across gap-type obstacles, such as, and primarily, rivers. The AVLB is usually a track vehicle converted from a tank chassis to carry a folding metal bridge instead of weapons. The AVLB's job is to allow armored or infantry units to cross craters, anti-tank ditches, blown bridges, railroad cuts, canals, rivers and ravines, when a river too deep for vehicles to wade through is reached, and no bridge is conveniently located or sufficiently sturdy, a substantial concern when moving 60-ton tanks. The bridge layer unfolds and launches as cargo, providing a ready-made bridge across the obstacle in only minutes. Once the span has been put in place, the AVLB vehicle detaches from the bridge and moves aside to allow traffic to pass. Once all of the vehicles have crossed, it crosses the bridge itself and reattaches to the bridge on the other side. It then retracts the span ready to move off again. A similar procedure can be employed to allow crossings of small chasms or similar obstructions. AVLBs can carry bridges of 60 feet, 19 meters, or greater than. By using a tank chassis, the bridge layer is able to cover the same terrain as main battle tanks, and the provision of armor allows them to operate even in the face of enemy fire. However, this is not a universal attribute. Some exceptionally sturdy 6x6 or 8x8 truck chassis have lent themselves to bridge layer applications. The roots of the modern AVLB can be found in World War I, at the dawn of tank warfare. Having developed tanks, the United Kingdom and France were confronted with the problem of mounting tank advances in the face of the trenches that dominated the battlefields. Early engagements, such as at Cambrai, demonstrated the tank's utility, but also highlighted its vulnerability to battlefield geography. Many early tanks found themselves ignominiously stuck in the trenches, having insufficiently long tracks to cross them, as at right. To counter this disadvantage, tanks, especially the common British heavy tanks, began to go into battle with fascines, sometimes as simple as a bundle of heavy sticks, carried on top. By dropping these into the trenches, they were able to create a wedge over which the tank could drive. Later, some tanks began to carry rails on their decks, the first AVLBs. By 1919, the British Army had, at its training center in Christchurch, a Mark II tank with lifting gear, able to carry and place a bridge or carry out mine clearing and demolition. It was in the World War II era that the importance of armored bridge layers, as well as combat engineering vehicles and armored recovery vehicles, became fully clear. With the advent of blitzkrieg warfare, whole divisions had to advance along with tanks, which were suddenly far outpacing the speed of infantry soldiers. Besides leading to the advent of self-propelled artillery assault guns, mobile anti-aircraft and armored personnel carriers cars, it became clear that functions like vehicle repair, mine clearing, and the like would have to be carried out by armored vehicles, advancing along with tanks. Moreover, these forces would have to be able to cross all forms of terrain without losing speed, and without having to concentrate their thrusts over certain bridges, and the rising weight of armored vehicles meant that fewer and fewer bridges could support these mass crossings. The only feasible solution to the dilemma posed by the mobility of all mechanized armed forces was a dedicated platform that could improvise river and obstacle crossings at short notice, and in otherwise inconvenient locations. Tracked and armored, it was capable of operating right alongside combat units, crossing rough terrain, and advancing in the face of light fire. To maximize on common parts and ease maintenance complications, they were usually based on existing tank chassis. One of the earliest series-produced examples is the Brückenleger IV, a German AVLB based on the Panzer IV, which entered service with the Wehrmacht in 1940. 20 were built, but problems of excessive weight limited the vehicle's effectiveness, and eventually all 20 were converted back to tanks. A new scissors bridge design was brought out by the British in response to the war, sufficient to support a 24-ton load over 30 feet, 9.1 meters. This was developed for the Covenanter tank. Eventually, it developed into a 30-ton capacity and therefore was carried by a turretless Valentine tank. It was used in Italy, Northwest Europe and Britain.
Train. Get ready. Get Mike. Get ready. All right. Oh, get it.
Go tell her to be verified.